Welcome to the Michiana Hivecast, where wellness meets community and conscious living takes flight. I'm your host, Jamila Blue, and I am so glad you're here. This is your space to expand, evolve, and grow together. Each episode, we celebrate the heart of Michiana through real conversations with local practitioners, healers, creatives, and community builders who are lighting the way towards connection, balance, and transformation. Whether you're just beginning your journey or deep in your practice, you'll find inspiration, insight, and a sense of belonging right here in the Hive. At Conscious Michiana, we are all about uniting people, sharing resources, and co-creating a thriving, holistic community. So let's get buzzing, and thank you for being a part of this conscious collective. The Michiana Hivecast, buzzing with wellness, connection, and conscious living in Michiana. Expand, evolve, grow. This is Jamila Blue with Conscious Michiana, and I have Joe Michalski of Space Suit Self here with us today as we're going to talk about his process, which is very unique to him, and how it ties in to mental health, as October is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I remember when I first met Joe a couple of years ago at our Mind Body Spirit Festival, I just was really enthralled by his artwork. And I'm like, oh, check out this. And then I got to be more familiar with him and his process. And I thought that it would be perfect to talk about for this month. So, Spacesuit Self. Tell me about Spacesuit
Yes.
Self and how that came to be.
Wow. So, um, space itself is a metaphor. Um, Ram Dass, Richard Alpert, back in the 1960s, he was a psychologist. And then he traveled to India, and then that's when he sort of changed over to Ram Dass. And um, he was explaining one time when I was going through a rough patch, like, that we all sort of have this suit, this identity suit. And it ranged, like, it resonated with me because I was like always struggling to find out, like, who am I? Who
Hmm.
I'm always pretending to be somebody for so that I'm liked, or so
Hmm.
that that person approves of me or something. And so I didn't like that feeling. And I was going through some depression at the time in 2014. And that was the first time I ever experienced what it felt like to be depressed. And I never thought I would.
Hmm.
I was like, no, I'm good. I was very narcissistic and just sort of controlling my way through life and thinking I can handle everything. But man, the universe had different things for me. So, but yeah, the space itself came around when I started really sort of listening to more podcasts, more YouTube videos, things like that. And I really gravitated to Ram Dass because he explained that about the suit. And
Hmm.
then further down the line, I had this, I discovered her name is Tara Brock.
Hmm.
So Tara Brock is a psychologist. And I actually contacted her about using the name Spacesuit Self. And she replied kind of funny, like, yeah, I don't care, kind of a thing. And so I just sort of went with it because I was like, well, I can use my name or I could go under a name of some sort. And for some reason, Spacesuit Self just sounded to me like there was something in that.
Hmm.
And so maybe, with my voice, I was never vocal enough to like say what I thought or have my opinions expressed. And so I just like being behind the camera in daily situations, kind of a thing. So, um, I think I was just afraid of people seeing me for who I am or something.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, so that's kind of where it came from. Tara Brach talks about it in a way where, you know, it's when you're in a situation and you're feeling like you have to pretend, or that's when you can notice, oh, it's the suit,
Mm,
the spacesuit itself. So,
mm,
but yeah, and then I started researching further from those two key people, and I sort of kept the name, and then I had my dad before he died. It was around, I think, 2018. Draw, and this is coming in the future. I'm going to have like my plan to have a space guy that he drew. I was like, Dad, can you draw a space guy, like a space suit guy with just removing the helmet? And if he was just confused, but he did it. And so it's on my Instagram if you scroll really down. But it was a thing that kind of got me going. I was like, I don't know what this is for. So,
mm.
but I'm just gonna ride along and see where it can take me. And this is
Yeah.
before I drew anything.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I was going through a meaning quest, more or less. Like, how do I fit into whatever this is, whatever we're all going through? How do I find meaning in it?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that sort of started, after he drew that and I posted it, that sort of held me accountable to myself to just go,
Yeah.
do it. And
Hmm.
so that was the magical moment, after I posted that, because I was like, I can't stop now.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And how
Yep.
did that
So that's kind of
transcend
the
to doodling? Like, what was the connector
yeah.
between the suit and doodles?
Okay. So 2020 came around, and so I was at work. I have a day job, and I was walking down the street nearby, and I got a call from my dad in August of 2020. Already, kind of just like, what's going on? There's a lot of chaos happening. We're supposed to stay inside, all that. Um, and then he announced that he had cancer over the phone to me.
Mm.
And it was like the first thing he said when I picked up. He's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I have cancer. And so it was just one of those moments where it was like, is this reality? Um, so I more or less went through this change that I was already starting to go through from just everything happening. Then that kind of pushed me even further down to trying to accept what I just heard.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, and then so time went by through trying to deal with the news of that. Um, and then I wasn't really doing anything with myself during that time. I was remembering back to 2014 how it felt to be fully depressed, like I was diagnosed major depression. And then I had cleared from that. And then I felt again those weighted feelings. Interests were
Uh-huh.
starting to drop. I love Tool is my favorite band, and I didn't like to listen to them, which is very strange.
Wow. Yeah, they're one of my
Yeah.
top bands as well. I totally understand. And I would feel very
Yep.
strange if all of a sudden I was like, what do you mean I'm not
Yeah.
liking Elegy? What do you
I
mean?
know. I'm like, right.
How
I'm like,
strange.
no. And even if someone said like, here, I got free concerts, I'd be like, I don't know.
Oh,
But
wow.
free tickets. So like,
Uh-huh.
more or less, time went by, and I, I just said to myself, like, this is a moment where I need to choose here. Like, do I
Mm-hmm.
just die inside along with him as he fades, or do
Mm-hmm.
I hold on and sort of push through whatever is coming at me and just accept it?
Yeah.
And I never really had a way to accept anything before if it was something that wasn't going along with my control. but I had learned enough about, like, learning to meditate, um, and just doing things to like improve my mind, which was starting to drop. And so I was like, this is the practice. Like, this is where you need to really do something. And
Hmm.
so, but I gave myself grace because I was like, well, whatever it is, I, I know something needs to happen here, but I wasn't just pressuring myself because that would have made it worse, in my opinion. But
Hmm.
so then I just gravitated back to my art. I graduated back in 2003, and I had an art degree. I was a painting major, and then also web and graphic design. So that's what took me away from it. So I went to the corporate world, which is fine because it's all together. It all works together in
Uh-huh.
the end, which I'm finding out. But it's like, you know, at that time in 2020, when my dad called me and told me that news, I had already been confused so much about, like, do I like my job anymore? Do I even like what I do?
Hmm.
So one night, I got out the sketchbook and I just decided, you know what? This is the hardest thing to do ever right now, is be creative, because I didn't feel it at all. And it was going
Yeah.
against the grain of, like, all I want to do is sort of curl up, and I just knew that, like, deep down, that wasn't good. So I looked at the paper and I just started. Oh yeah, actually, there were. I remember doing dishes one of those nights when before I got the notepad out, and I took a picture with my phone of soap bubbles in my sink in a pan that was sitting in there with, like, leftover spaghetti sauce, whatever,
Uh-huh.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So there were little bubbles that were forming inside there from the soap, and it just looked amazing. And I was like, wait a second, did I just get excited about that?
Uh-huh.
So I knew
Yeah.
there was something to those bubbles. So I took
Uh-huh.
the picture, stored it on my phone, and then I came back to it, and that's when I decided to just draw circles. That was it. And I don't know what it would lead to, but I started in the center and worked my way outward, and eventually got just a whole page of circles. And I don't that's all it was. But I knew that after looking at it, I was like, I felt a little better, and I didn't really know why,
Hmm.
but all it was the action of doing
Yeah.
something that I listened to.
Yeah.
And so that's what sparked the whole doodle thing.
So honoring that part of you, that artist part of you that was screaming to get
Yeah.
out and saying, yeah, okay, I see your excitement. Let's do a little something. And how cool that
Yeah.
you were able to do that. So when you talk on your website about otherworldly
Mhm.
imagery, would that be when you what does that mean? Like, because when you talk about the bubbles, I see those bubbles now that you
Yep.
say it. I can envision your art, and it's so much of that. And also, when I see your term of otherworldly imagery, I can see that as well. I mean, so is that kind of one and the
Yeah.
same, or do you see them separately?
It is probably one and all the same because it all blended
Uh-huh.
into it
Yeah.
somehow or another. I just know that my recent trips in the past going out to the desert really inspired me visually. Um, a lot of the early work from 2021 and 2022, when I was going through that rough patch, um, it there's a lot more like landscapey feel that sort of have a desert feel to it. And I must say, in 2018 was my first experience with and safely used psychedelics.
Mm,
So
mhm.
2018 was my first actual normal dose. Because I had been sort of journaling and making my way to understand more about the mind in general because I wanted
Yeah.
to know the root of my problem and
Mm.
depression. So
Mm-hmm.
just to learn about myself more. So I had decided with a good close friend who I trust to take that plunge. Um,
Psilocybin?
and it was psilocybin. Yep. Yep. Yes. And so that was 2018. And there was a moment, and you can see it a lot in my work. There's an eye, and it's sort of looking up and out
Mm.
of a lot of visceral darkness,
Mm.
feelings and despair. But there's this eye. And so the meaning behind that is, um, or it's symbolic for wonder and hope.
Mm.
And there's a way out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was inspired from when I was out in the desert, um, with the medicine of psilocybin. And there was a moment where I was looking into the sky and I sort of wanted to represent that feeling that I had, um, and sort of put it in there. And I used the eye to do that. So
Mm-hmm. Nice.
yeah, I don't know. And so it's sort of morphing over time, but that's the thing. I draw sort of from the subconscious. It's like when you're doodling, you don't know what you're doing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know, you're on the phone. Like back in the day, we used to do that, and you just look at your paper and you're like, how did this form? Like,
Yeah.
where did this come from? And so the more I look into like Carl Jung and, studying like the subconscious and how dreams and all that is all connected. And so drawing without thinking is sort of the premise of like, or just why the way I do it. There's no planning behind it. I put music on and I get lost into the no thought zone.
Yeah.
And because I know, you know, from my own research, and when I found that out, I was like, we cause our own problems, we cause our
Uh-huh.
own suffering. And through the whole Buddhism, researching and all that, and it's like, well, so the object would be to get to a place of no thought, for peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that through drawing, and I I don't judge what's happening. I sort of work with the like if something happens and it feels wrong, or it's okay. I
Yeah.
just I keep going to another section and just working, and I come back to it later.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, no, I think I answered the question.
Yeah.
Forgot where I was going.
So the act of doodling as a form of process in processing the emotions. Um, have
Yeah.
since then, have you come up with a way of using this as a process? Have you been able to form a process where you're like, okay, I know that something's stirring within me. I need to process this,
Yep.
so therefore I'm going to go to the canvas or your pad or whatever that is. And what does that look like
Yeah.
for you?
It's funny you say that because I haven't drawn in for myself in so long that I am feeling that right now. Um, but just because I've been busy with some other things, like fixing up my house and dealing with a few life situations. But um, when I feel it, I know I need to do it, so I listen to that.
Hmm.
Um, haven't listened to it as much lately, but but I'm telling myself right now to do it. But yeah, it's something that I'm aiming for to do, at least once a week. Do the volume of work I want to produce more work, and also be more consistent with those
Hmm.
times. But it's also, you can't force it. Anything
Yeah.
forced is just, you know, you can't
Hmm.
force things. So there's some times where it's like in between is absolutely necessary, where you don't do a damn thing, and it's okay.
Yep.
Because you might need to gravitate or read something for a while or go out in nature.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's something that I definitely don't force, but it's past due. So it's
Hmm.
like balancing that.
Yeah.
Um,
So, what message do you hope people will take away from your art in relation to mental health?
Good question. I think that the message that I want people to take from the art is that, or at least from my story, like, you know, it this is a journey we're all on. And the bad stuff sucks, but it's all threading itself. And patience comes to mind because if you can develop your patience through the hard shit, I'll just say it. It's hard. Um, and just be kind to yourself, knowing that like it's bad, but it's gonna get better. So I really hope that my work can speak in that way where it's dark sometimes. But that's life. Like it does that in a way to kind of balance and push you further. And the sooner we can accept that, I mean, the better. So just know that it's going to get better.
Hmm.
That's kind of the message I want to put out there with my work, um,
Hmm.
and just being a living example of it. Um, and yeah, but the key, being kind to yourself. That all the thoughts that are going to be coming in, like try to learn to manage them. Like take the time to. But I know being in that state, it's like I don't want to do anything. But you know, just let the time pass and um, endure it.
Hmm.
Almost change the way you view and the perception of the thing. That's everything. you know
Hmm.
like
It is
challenges,
everything.
flat tires, whatever. It's like, give it to me. I want it. And if you can do that, you can
Uh-huh.
change. Yeah, it's like it's practice, but it's like never going to be perfect. But it but that's
There is
something that
no
helped me
such
out.
thing as
But that's how I
perfection,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
I
So do
know.
you notice that like from the time that you were severely depressed, once you
Yeah.
started um utilizing art through where you are now, do you see a difference like dark, heavy versus however it's processed now? Do you see a difference as far as, you know,
hmm
where your art has come and the way that it's visually represented?
hmm It's lighter. Um,
Hmm.
Depression still lingers, and
Hmm.
that's the thing I want to explain to people is like it's never going to go away. It'll just step itself up to getting lighter,
Hmm.
and you can manage it.
Hmm.
Um, you
Dull
know,
hum versus
and
loud
that's if you're,
bass.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But
Hmm.
it's like, but I also don't want to say, or I also want to say, um, that it's the work, when they say you got to do the work, you you got to go easy on yourself. But yes, it's somewhat true that it's the work that needs to be done, but you have to sort of realize when those kind of times happen in your life where you're very confused and you can't make decisions right and all that. You know just know that taking action, even if you don't want to do it, like the action of me being in that state, just drawing circles, I never knew how much I needed that. But and it could be something completely different for other people, but it's just the action. It's
Hmm.
like there's going to be an uncomfortable feeling, but the action of doing something, even if it's just a walk, could get you started towards the direction
Hmm.
that might lead you to the next thing that you need to do. And but yeah, you got to really listen and
Hmm.
around those situations. But it all in all, it still exists. There's some in and outs of like depression, but it's like a very lighter version of it. I can say, and it's like I know now that okay, what do I need to learn here? But I only know that from like just going through what I did.
Yeah.
Losing a loved one or you know, and I we can go into this if you'd like, but yeah, I was very angry. I treated people horribly in my life, and there's things I can't take back. So that's another thing too, because depression is more like looking back and just feeling
Hmm.
bad
Yeah. The
about what
shame
you
that comes up.
did or
Yeah.
the shame. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Brene Brown, the whole shame thing. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like it's real. Like it's okay, if you go easy on yourself and just know, like
Hmm.
we're kind of messed up sometimes, but it's leading us to grow. It's
Yeah.
somewhere from
Yeah.
the understanding. Yep.
One of the most helpful things that I heard along the way that really helped me, because I've also gone through, for me, it's been different. I've gone through
Yeah.
some really deep, hardcore stuff for sure. And I've
Yep.
definitely felt depressed. Nothing that's really been staying there, like lingering in that way. However, the thing that really helped me was when I think that it was through Young. I've got somebody that I work with that is a Jungian, and I believe that it was him who told me we are not our thoughts, that we are beyond our thoughts.
Hmm.
We are the thing behind our thoughts that sees our
Yes.
thoughts, that hears our thoughts. And once I came to that realization, it truly helped me have that sense of separation. And now I
Yeah.
do a lot of work with parts and just being able to shamanically go in and speak to those parts that come up and recognize those various, because each of them have, like, I've got my project manager part and I have my little DJ part, and I've got lots of little parts that
Like the
I
different
get to
roles.
engage
Yeah.
with. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, that organize and protect, and like all, and when we begin to see and can work with and build relationships with those parts. I've got a sad part. Okay, sad part. What's going on? What's really going on? Oh, like being able to build those relationships. It's really helped me. But
Yes.
it really started with being able to recognize that when my mind is spinning and my emotions are spinning and I'm just like, rah, whatever is going on, to have that
Yeah.
moment of like,
Yep.
okay, this is not me. I get to see
Yeah.
me in this way. And having that sense of separation has been so helpful for me in my journey,
Oh yeah.
for healing. So I've been
So
really,
good to hear that.
yeah, yeah. And so I've been really enjoying hearing how you process as well, because all of these things play a part to be able to get us to a
Yeah.
greater sense of wellness. Because when we can
Yeah.
each
Thoughts, man.
level up, then it helps all level up, right?
Yep, yep, exactly. Yeah, thoughts are everything. Like, I mean, the thoughts, words, the actions, it all begins with the thoughts. So if we can get our
Hmm.
thoughts straight
Yeah,
and know that they're just thoughts,
exactly.
it would definitely help. Yeah.
And then I get to the point of, okay, I see my thoughts spinning. Oh, I don't have to spin. I can choose what my thoughts are. That's the next step out of that. However,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have to go down that road.
Yep.
Okay, well, what do I want to focus on? Okay, let's focus there. When people say, hey, I'm creatively blocked, like I can't do that. I'm just, like, when they feel creatively blocked or intimidated by art or just simply doodling, what do you tell
Yeah.
them?
It's funny you mention that because the other night I had a student in the Krasel Community Center, Art Center class that I teach in fall. Um, there was a moment where we were actually doing something called exquisite corpse, where I don't know if you've done that before, It's an exercise where you kind of split paper into like three sections, and no one can see what you're drawing, but you draw a head. And so a half an hour we spent on the head, and then the timer went off. I kind of mixed them all up, gave them out again, and said, okay, now's the time to draw the body, and then you have a leg section with feet. And doesn't have to be a body; it could just be whatever you want. Um, so she's a photo she's a photorealist, kind of a drawer. So in the class that I'm teaching is more with just pen and you know watercolor as like color laying, sort of similar to what I do. Everyone has a journaling kit, which is great. It's a visual journaling kit that they receive, and then still trying to build it. But she more or less had an issue with, I can see the strain in her, and she for 10 minutes she didn't have anything drawn on the paper.
Hmm.
So it was like one of those moments where I asked her like, if is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, I just can't really draw in this style. Like I need pencils and I need to shade and all that. So sh more or less, I'd just say, well, how about turn tune into the music that you're listening to, because I throw some soft ambient music on, and just put your hand down with the pen and just move with the music and your breath. Don't think
Mm.
about it. Don't judge what you're seeing. Just move.
Hmm.
And eventually she got the hang of it. So that's one of the things that I tell people, but it's still in progress because I'm just developing
Yeah.
my class structure and all that, because in one way I want to get people connected. And I think that
Hmm.
fall's a great time because, I sort of keep it intimate with the lighting and make it an experience for people, instead of, you know, instructing how to do the drawing, do the thing. I just sort of let them open up and just be themselves in the whole class. And we talk and have conversation that can get pretty deep at times.
Hmm.
Um, but but yeah, that's what I do. I just sort of say tune into the music, because that's what I do too. I sort of get lost into what I'm hearing, and a lot of the stuff that I listen to when I draw is similar to what I have in the class. Just sort of drony and no words, no, just
Hmm.
total sound that fluctuates, and it brings you different places in your mind, I think,
Yeah.
or at least it does for me. So
I like listening to solfeggio frequencies in the background,
yeah,
whenever I'm meditating or if I'm doing something creative, or it's nice to have those various frequencies just kind of hanging out where they're just not
yeah.
real obvious and prominent, but they're there very subtly. Feels kind of nice.
Yeah.
So, how do you engage with your audience or the people, as you're talking to them around mental health themes?
So that's something that I do at the beginning and the ending of each class. So I found that what works, um, is because it's called meditative drawing. So I don't want people to think like we're just going to meditate and then draw, but I work it into, when they get started drawing, I sort of guide them with a passage that I sort of created,
Mm.
and it has a lot in there about thinking, and we are not our thoughts, kind of, like we were talking about. And I just I throw that into the beginning, and I guide them in with that, to follow the breath. Um, if you have a thought, it's like a cloud passing by. So I'm turning it into a script that I sort of just go through, so that it's more of a routine feel. So when they come back in the class, they can depend on that.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end, I sort of do the same as like a closing to the drawing session, and do the same, but change it up just a little bit. So yeah, all this, it's all in development, but it's just working as it goes and seeing what works, what doesn't work. getting the feedback. But that's sort of what I do.
Nice. What does discovering your true voice mean to you, and how has art helped you do that?
Oh man. So yeah, it's the circles that I started drawing, and I never knew what I wanted to do with art or my voice with art in general, but I knew that I had something because it was meaningful to me.
Mm,
And going back to the whole meaning creation, like we want to create meaning in our lives to make it worthwhile. That spoke. So I knew that this is something that and this was the important thing. I knew that even at the most depressed state that I'm ever in, I could depend on that thing, the drawing, as something exciting to do. It's like a constant, that, no matter what's happening in life, I know that I could draw and it would be okay, and sort of have that foundation of, not slipping through into the deep end.
mhm,
So yeah, that's when I knew that, okay, this is speaking to me. So in a way, maybe it could speak to people who might be going through similar situations. So I
mhm,
knew that was the voice. I was like, it's
mhm.
there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
nice.
So
Do you believe that everyone has an inner artist, and how can they begin to uncover that?
I do. Um, we're creators. The more I think into it, um, it's who we are. It's our nature to create. Um, I feel that the universe wants to observe itself doing something fun or doing something unique or doing something that has never been seen with a set of eyeballs before or heard, if you're a musician, um, or food, whatever you do, we're all creators here on this planet.
Mhm,
And I think the more that we say no to what we're being told to do or try to live up to something that people expect out of us, I think the more we push that aside and just do the thing we want to do, the
mhm.
better. And I know it's not easy for a lot of people, but that's where patience can come back in too. It's like, for me, I had to unfortunately wait for my dad to die. But, because when people come into my art fair tent and they're very sad for me, I'm like, well, I'm not. And they kind of have this confused look, like, what do you mean your
Uh-huh.
dad died?
Yeah.
But I was like, no, it's well, obviously I've had time to go through that, but he was the catalyst. He so maybe people out there need a catalyst, and if it's not happening, it might, but you can't force it
Mhm.
again. It's like,
Yeah. Mhm.
but yeah, we're all artists
And going back to
deep
what
down.
you said earlier about that thing that lit you up when you first saw the bubbles and you got excited and you knew you're onto something,
Yeah,
it comes down to that thing that lights you. It's like, oh, there's a little
yeah,
spark there, and exploring with curiosity
yeah,
what that spark is and using
right.
that as a portal.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And sometimes it could take a month or two or three, whatever you're going through, or longer, but it's worth the wait. Um,
Hmm.
just know that for a fact, like, something is going to happen. It's just a matter of when, and but just having that hope there, and
Hmm.
even faith, like having faith in that happening.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
yep.
Hey, Joe, do you have any upcoming events or workshops or collaborations or projects that you're kind of excited about that will explore healing through art?
I do, yeah. So Wildwood's Workshop. Do you know who they are?
Hmm.
Um, his name is Jeremy. I forgot her name. So we're going to get together and do a collaboration. That's going to be time lapsed. So I'm looking forward to doing that. It's the first time, well, second time that I'm doing a collaboration with somebody else. And so his style is he sort of does the same thing and he's pushing out the same message. So we're combining forces here. So we've been through similar situations. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. He puts coffee stain down and does characters and builds characters out of these stains onto the paper.
Nice. How fun.
So so yep. So we're gonna do a combination where he does one, I do one, and we're gonna switch back and forth and
Oh,
record it all.
nice.
Yeah. So that should be coming soon. The the class meditative drawing currently happening at Frazzle Art Center in St. Joe, Michigan, which is a 2 hour long class. I just kind of make the mood really cool, and I have these mushroom lights that I put up, um, and
Is that an
put a little
ongoing
music
class
on
that
for
you do
everybody.
there?
It's yeah. So the summer is when I experimented with it, and there I told them flat out to their face, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but we're gonna draw. So from there, it's sort of built into like, okay, well, I want to do, I want to make this more meaningful, back to the meaning thing for people who, because it's open to all ages. You don't have to draw. It could be, you don't have to be an artist. Just come, and then we'll hook you up. So I developed just a little kit that comes with a little sketchbook, watercolor book, some paints and pens, similar to what I use,
Hmm.
and run through 5 weeks, one new exercise per week. And there is no skill involved. It's just more mind. It's just more psychological and exploring what you're, seeing what you can do and surprising yourself. So so that's going on too. And then I'll be hibernating for winter, trying to do my own work to knock that out for spring. So that's going to be keep me busy. And then in the summer, oh no, I'm sorry, in the spring is when I'll be picking up the classic Frazzle again. So
Okay.
it'll be a little more developed by then. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, so
Nice.
little things here and there. But
Do you
um,
keep things listed on your website? Is your website up to date with your things, or how would they find
it's
your
not
events
it's
coming up?
not. But I do have a Facebook. Um, it's just Joe Michalski, and that is sort of connected to my Instagram. So whatever I post, time lapse wise or any new work will show up on Facebook too. And so that's the place to stay most up to date is either Instagram, Spacesuit Self, or Facebook, Joe Michalski. But that is one thing that I'm looking forward to updating on the website because as I continue to do this, I want to do more like one-on-one sessions
Hmm.
where, maybe we can do some art while we're talking about, what's happening, what's holding you back, or what's
Uh-huh.
keeping you from moving forward, and sort of
Hmm.
help people that way. Because I think therapy works, and that's great. Keep doing it, but there's also the coaching aspect where you can have a coach and a therapist. Um, and that's something that I want to offer in the future is
Hmm.
coaching, almost like an art therapy coach, but
Nice.
using the art as an excuse to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds beautiful. Love that. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for bringing us your conversations around doodling and how it ties into mental health for this Mental Health Awareness Month. And take care, everybody. See ya.
Thank you.
That is a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us in the Hive. We hope you're walking away inspired, energized, and ready to expand, evolve, and grow on your own journey. If this conversation moved you, sparked a new idea, or made you feel more connected, share it with a friend and help us keep the buzz alive. Conscious Michiana is a nonprofit powered by community, and your support helps us keep creating meaningful content, hosting events, and connecting people to the resources they need to thrive. Visit consciousmichiana.org/donate to contribute, because every drop of honey helps. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with us on social media. Until next time, be well, Michiana. The Michiana Hivecast, buzzing with wellness, connection, and conscious living in Michiana. Expand, evolve, grow.